Hello friends, you're watching Political and a big welcome indeed to you. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Pennsylvania. It's no secret, Pennsylvania dropped the ball when it came to the 2020 election. Even amongst these big battleground states where voter fraud appears to have been rampant, Pennsylvania stands out as the worst of a bad bunch. Republican vote counting observers were denied meaningful access until around 3/4 of the counting was done by biased election officials. They required binoculars to view the count. And now, according to the legal challenge launched by President Donald Trump, we can now see the true depth of fraud in Pennsylvania. Over 500,000 votes, 680,000 are now officially disputed. This comes as Attorney General William Barr officially ordered the DOJ, Department of Justice, to investigate voting irregularities across the nation. This election is nowhere near over. But before we begin, thanks so much for your support. You've been great, and a big welcome to the huge numbers of subscribers that came in the last few days. Please consider subscribing too if you want to be part of this great community. Drop a like, leave a comment, and now make sure to look for us on Parler at Political. We've been quite disappointed with the mainstream social media, so we've decided to join hopefully a bit more of a patriot and conservative friendly site. So, Ian, no article today, but you're going to be reading out the whole of the lawsuit, are you?
Yeah, so there's only 240 paragraphs. I thought we'd just get through this dead quick, and then obviously...
Easy.
Yeah. No, so obviously we said in the video yesterday that Giuliani had spoken on a few networks about the lawsuits that they were going to be bringing forward, and he did indicate that there would be a big lawsuit coming forward on Monday, which has been the case. And so I've just kind of gone through briefly gone through it. It is quite an extensive lawsuit. If you do want to read it yourself, we'll leave the link in the description. It's on Donald Trump's website. But it seems that the kind of crux of the claim, the main claim that they have, is with regards to these 682,497 ballots. So Allegheny and Philadelphia counties alone received and processed 682,497 mail-in and absentee ballots without review by the political parties and candidates. These are unprecedented numbers in Pennsylvania's elections history. Rather than engaging in an open and transparent process to give creditability to Pennsylvania's brand new voting system, the processes were hidden during a receipt review, opening and tabulation of those votes in direct contravention of the election code. So this, the argument that they're effectively going with is that these votes were treated differently than other votes, and there is a predicate for this under Bush v. Gore. The right to vote is protected in more than the initial allocation of the franchise. Equal protection applies as well to the manner of its exercise. Having once granted the right to vote on equal terms, the state may not, by later arbitrary and disparate treatment, value one person's vote over that of another. That was the ruling in the Bush v. Gore case. And what they're effectively saying is that the right to vote extends beyond just the actual voting, and the way that the vote is treated is also part of the right to vote. So if you have a situation where mail-in ballots are sent in and they're not given the same scrutiny as in-person ballots, then you effectively have this two-tier system. So whereas people on election day had to go in, they would obviously sign the register, have their signature checked, be given the ballot. They would go through all of these different processes. Those that mailed in ballots, they were sent in, and they didn't face a lot of scrutiny, or we don't know how much scrutiny they faced because poll observers weren't allowed to watch, and they weren't allowed to watch. We didn't exactly know how many votes this would affect. They're alleging that it affects 600,000 votes. So this is now really another big lawsuit. On top of, they've already put through many of them, many lawsuits. Most of them have been kind of shut down. The one that still exists that very well may go to the Supreme Court is saying that, the states don't have the option to decide when when votes can be received after election day, because the Constitution lays out that it has to be the first Tuesday, the Tuesday after the first Monday of November. So the states can't, kind of overrule when votes can be accepted. So that's what they argue on that front as well. So that combined with this one could account to a considerable amount of votes across these swing states. And obviously in Pennsylvania, I think Biden's ahead by something like 40,000 votes, I think it might be. So, even there is a potential for quite a significant number of votes to come out. So now we're actually in the territory where it's like, real considerable amount of votes that could really change and swing the outcome.
And yeah, and just on that last point, you were mentioning that the states don't have the right to kind of change when
votes are
moving back moving back the dates and everything. Even if you think states have the right to do that, then isn't it a moral question? They shouldn't be doing that halfway through the election, and we saw states pushing that date back after voting had opened, and like one day before the election, and whilst the election was going on. The rules of the game shouldn't be changed halfway through. Can you imagine if you're watching a football match and the referee just says, okay, the home team's at a disadvantage, so we are going to extend the match by 120 minutes. It's utterly ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is as well, only I think in one, I've been watching some videos and reading up on the kind of previous law cases and stuff on this. Apparently in, I think it was Montana, I can't remember the exact date, it was like 1940s or something. This same idea was brought to court. I think the Montana Supreme Court ruled, that they don't get to decide when votes are accepted, that the Constitution does lay out quite clearly that when the election day is, and you're just not allowed to vote after it. So, I mean, that's to me, that's one of the rulings that could very well go to the Supreme Court and could significantly, change the outcome depending on what happens. I don't know I'm sorry if you can hear a truck outside at this point in time. I don't know if it's been picked up in the microphone. But as well,
that's where all the outstanding ballots have gone.
Yeah, they're just dumping off some ballots in my front garden. Don't worry about it. So yeah, just moving on to Barr as well. It's not that he's. What's interesting is that there's been some resignations over this. But if you actually read what Barr said, I just think it seems a little bit crazy that people resign over this. I don't think there's anything controversial in what he said. He's told federal prosecutors to look into substantial allegations of irregularities in last week's election. And that prompted the top lawyer overseeing voter fraud investigations to resign in protest, which is incredible. He sent a letter days after the attacks on the integrity of the election by President Trump and Republican allies who have alleged without evidence that there had been widespread voter fraud. Whether or not, I don't know if you agree with the evidence, but certainly there is evidence. So I think that's a bit of a false claim. Trump has not conceded to Joe Biden. We know that. But he told prosecutors that fanciful or far-fetched claims should not be a basis for investigation, and that his letter did not indicate the Justice Department had uncovered voting irregularities affecting the outcome of the election. But he did say he was authorizing prosecutors to pursue substantial allegations of irregularities. Why would you resign over the Attorney General saying, if there are substantial allegations, then pursue them? If there's not substantial allegations, don't bother pursuing them. Why would you? What's controversial about that exactly?
No, it's utterly ludicrous, isn't it? And I mean, from a legal perspective, there are substantial allegations. Okay, we've just seen Donald Trump's launched this lawsuit alleging 600,000 votes are now disputed. Okay, so from a legal perspective, and this man should know it as a lawyer, in the system, there is a significant challenge that has been accepted to the veracity of the votes. Okay, so why is he resigned? It makes no sense at all. It's very clear that he's partisan, isn't it? This dude who's resigned. It's just utterly ludicrous. I don't understand how the Democrats are willing to throw away the integrity of the system just to ensure Biden retains his seat. They don't even like Biden that much. And I said this a few times in the comments as well. It's in the Democrats' best interest to ensure that every single vote, every single instance of voter fraud is fully investigated. Because if you want to govern for America and you want to kind of reunite the nation, so to speak, then you have to make sure that Trump fans are on your side and that they accept Biden as a president. Because you don't want what just happened to Donald Trump over the last 4 years to happen to Joe Biden, do you? Well, they're just so short-sighted that they can't accept that, and they're scared that their candidate's going to be undermined at the last minute. It's the system. The system matters, and it matters so much, and they're throwing it under the bus for a mediocre man. It's utterly incredible.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think a lot of people have echoed that sentiment as well. What is the harm in investigating? It really is giving me a headache, the whole situation. I don't think it needs to be that complicated. I think it is quite simple. Trump hasn't conceded. He thinks that there are voting irregularities. Many people have supported him on this. Like the Mexican president has come out and said, I'm not going to say anything until, even Joe Jorgensen, I believe, said if he thinks that there's voting irregularities, then it's his right to pursue it. It's not a controversial idea. Now, it could well be that they do the court cases and they're wrong, and actually they don't have substantial evidence, or they don't have evidence that, will change a significant number of votes, just a few votes here and there. And if that's the case, then Joe Biden wins, and that's what happens. But everyone comes out the end of it feeling like, well, I'm glad I can feel confidence now in the result. If Donald Trump's investigated it himself and his team, and then, they couldn't provide the evidence for the court, and I can see the evidence there presented in front of me, and that's still not enough to change the outcome, then I'm satisfied. And I would be satisfied in that scenario.
Absolutely.
So I don't see the issue with that, and I don't see why someone would resign, like the lead investigator to vote for resigning. I mean, this is this is what he lives for. This is his role for this moment. For this moment, it's like, oh, there's been an election, and some people are saying that there's been voter fraud. Oh, I'm head of voter fraud allegation. Oh, I'm going to resign. This is crazy. What, you want us to investigate? Oh, that's crazy. Crazy stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with it. This lawsuit, anyway, this seems like quite a... I don't know what will happen. This could very well be one of those ones as well that ends up going to the Supreme Court, just because it does seem to touch on... the vote to write, which would be a federal issue. It wouldn't be something that's done statewide, so I'm sure this is potentially could get kicked all the way up to the Supreme Court, as the other lawsuit that they have that they put through last week could do as well. And these are really the ones that we're talking about that could affect the outcome, as I say. So, have you got anything to add onto that?
No, perhaps just some thoughts to end with, just very quickly. This election, there's just been so many little glitches, so many little errors, so many whoops, we didn't let anyone into the counting centres. How has it been possible that it's all benefited the Democrats? There hasn't been an instance of the Republicans benefiting from this. There wasn't an instance where the voting was paused, or the vote count was paused, and then Donald Trump magically 100,000 votes appeared from nowhere, was there? This just smells. It smells fishier than a fish market. I've lost faith in this system here. If the Democrats manage to block every attempt to investigate this, I don't see how any American who loves the Constitution, who loves America, can accept it. It really is very difficult for me to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, really right now it's just a case of we've got to have some faith. We'll see what happens. I think it's important to let the process happen. kind of give it a level of patience. So you say, okay, well, you know, it's going to take time. This is a 240 paragraph, you know, case. It take most people half a day to even figure out what's going on in there. So we'll see where the court cases go. But, you know, we do effectively have that deadline when the electors come together in December. So I think it's December like 16th or something like that, 15th maybe. So, you know, at least we kind of have that date in mind in the future where we're like, okay, well, this is when things are going to be resolved, and it's not going to be a kind of limbo situation. But yeah, so listen, I assume there's going to be a lot more of these cases. We're going to do our best to kind of break it down and let people know what's happening. So yeah, if you do enjoy our content, if you did enjoy what we talked about today in the analysis, then as Connor said at the beginning, please do consider giving us a subscribe. It really helps us out. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.